Hi there, welcome to Floating in Books. Today I wanted to chat to you about how I like to shop on Vinted. Welcome to everybody watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. In case you have been watching my channel, you've seen some of my hauls in the past couple of years. I think since last year, I really got the hang of Vinted, and I thought maybe it's gonna be fun to share with you how I like to go on there and use the app to find things that I like, because I have pretty much replaced clothes shopping for Vinted. Like, I hardly ever go to brands' websites anymore. There's only like a couple of products that I'm like, I do want those new. I don't want to go through Vinted there. But yeah, most of what I now buy clothing-wise is Vinted and not like any other brand per se. So here's how I go about it. And I do apologize for the lighting in this video. I'm filming this after work. I already sat down to film another video. It's around 7 o'clock right now. So if the video is a little bit like grainy or the image is a little bit dark, I do apologize because we're having some gloomy days these past couple of weeks. But yeah, in case you don't know, Vinted is an app. I think here in Europe, it's more popular, I think, than in some other places. It is a European-based country. I think they're located in like Lithuania or something like that. They're like somewhere. Over here in the Netherlands, it used to be called United Wardrobe, and then it became Vinted. And it took me a little while to really get the hang of it. I was not entirely sure, but ever since I've been using it a little bit more, I have found a strategy to find really good things in there. And that's why, you know, for instance, the thing I'm wearing right now, this little knitted vest top, is a Vinted find that I don't think I've shown you yet in a haul. I still need to do like a spring summer haul of like the things I picked up in the past couple of months. But there just wasn't a whole lot I was picking up, and then I found new exciting things, and I first wanted to wait for those to come in. And so I'll show you sometime, I think in June, what clothing I have been buying in the past couple of months. But yeah, I've been using Vinted for a lot of things. So even though this is just plain old ZARA, I tend to now go through Vinted. And one of the reasons why I love shopping through Vinted is because it's easier to find things that are a little bit more unique. And you can still find things that are in incredibly good condition, and very often things that, even though I like the item a lot, I don't think I would want to spend the amount of money for it new. But then if I can get it for like a deal on Vinted, I feel a lot better about that. And of course, it's slightly less wasteful. There are also things I don't like about this app. One of the things I don't like about it is that sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to really see the products very well. So that's why one of my strategies is to look for having enough pictures. I'm not going to buy something that doesn't have a lot of pictures. You can ask sellers for certain things sometimes, but I don't want to go through the faff of that. Like, either you have a good listing or you don't. And if the listing isn't good, I tend to skip the item straight away. So that's the only thing I find annoying. There are also some like features that the app would want the app to have. Like, I would want to be able to pick my own shipping options a little bit more easily. I'd like it to be a little bit more clear how much money I'm spending when I'm clicking on an item, because there's like quite a lot of fees that sometimes can be added. So if you see an item that's only €5, then sometimes, you know, it adds up and then it's close to 10 and you're like, ooh, I wasn't going to pay that much. And I've definitely made a couple of boo-boos on there as well. There's a lot of people who sell Shein and call it vintage. So you have to be very careful. So I made a couple of those mistakes down the line. And sizing can be difficult. Very often there's only one item. I bought a skirt. It is super pretty. It's a beautiful suede skirt, but I don't think I'll ever fit into it. It was listed as a size extra large on Vinted, and it's a small. So sometimes having measurements and all that can sometimes be helpful. I just went by what the seller gave me, and it wasn't something that worked out for me. So I've definitely made mistakes, and that has to do, of course, also with the fact that there is no standardized sizing for clothing. So that's why sometimes with sizing, especially for bottoms, for dresses and tops, it's been fine. That's been lovely. But for bottoms, I feel it can be very tricky on there to figure out whether something might be right for you or not. But what I tend to do a lot on Vinted is that I have an idea of the item I look for. For instance, take this item. I really knew after I filmed my entire wardrobe in February. Like, I put on every single item I own onto my body, filmed a clip, took a picture, so that I have this entire digital wardrobe now. I still need to like digitize it. Like, I haven't had time for that yet, to like really make an Excel sheet and have a nice overview and have all the images and stuff ready to go. Haven't had time for that yet. But that's a nice summer vacation project, I think. But as I was filming all of those clips, I found out that the thing I was really missing were some good sweater vest tops like what I'm wearing right now. So then I go into the app, I can find exactly what I'm looking for just by using the search terms and the filters really well. So that's how I like to use the app, and that's how I find so many things on Vinted. So for instance, for a sweater vest like this, what I would put in was just sweater vest. And I knew what colors were really missing from my collection, so that I would put in like red knitted sweater vest. So adding those sort of adjectives to it. So if you're just looking for a sweater vest, you're going to find everything. Way too many search results. It's not going to be helpful. But using the filters, look for a brand, set your amount that you want to spend on an item to a certain amount as well. Selecting a certain color or material, or even selecting like what size you're looking for, is going to give you a lot of options to filter it through. And the best part about it is that if you go into the search bar, you just tap the search bar, you can see all your most recent searches there. So what I sometimes do if I'm really looking for something, like it even shows you, I'm not sure if you can see, but it shows you if there's new items that have been listed under that tag. So you can make that super specific. And if you're looking for something, you can just like tap that and then keep track of it once in a while. And that way you can find very many things. However, what I've also loved is what I have found if I use the search terms, I'm trying to look for something pretty specifically, and then I don't find what I'm looking for. I find if the next time I open the app, sometimes already a few hours later, I have this recommended for you tab at the top. And if I go in there, I've been looking for a shoulder bag, so that's why I get a lot of bags. And then I just get, like, I've been looking for markers and like craft stuff and bags on there. So that's why I'm getting so many of these recommendations now, because the app remembers what your last couple of search terms were. And then sometimes if I'm like scrolling through these recommended things, I find things that like a while ago I was looking for. So for instance, I was looking for a really good burgundy blouse. I don't have a burgundy long sleeve blouse. Couldn't find anything. Been searching high and low for like the past 2 to 3 years. It was a gap in my wardrobe, in my opinion. But I wanted it to be interesting. I didn't necessarily want it to have a print, but I did want there to be like an interesting texture to it. Like, I didn't just want it to be a cotton or a linen blouse. I have plenty of those. So I wanted there to be either a nice color or maybe some sort of like texture. And you're gonna see this one in my haul because that's something I need to show you. But I found vintage 90s, I think, look, judging by the tag, 90s Marks and Spencers. And it's this blown out velvety sort of texture. It's super pretty. It's like sheer in some places, like semi-sheer, and then it has burgundy velvet, but it's still a burgundy blouse. And it fits me so well, and that is just an item I would not have been able to find in store at all. I found it that way. I put in a search term for a burgundy blouse, I think about a year ago when I first started using the app. And then one day I was browsing this recommended tab and it randomly popped on, and then that. The thing I also like to use a lot on Vinted is the favorite items. So these are some of my current favorite items. Oh, one of them has been sold, I see. So what happens a lot is that once they become very popular, then they do sell out. I always feel once it sells out before I can buy it, it wasn't meant to be. So what I like to do, I do this with my makeup, but I also do this with my fashion spending. I sort of budget it out. I have a couple of items sometimes that I have in the back of my hand, in the back of my head, that I would like to get that month. And that's how I use my favorites tab as well on the Vinted app. I tend to select a couple of things, and especially if they're a little bit more expensive, like a pair of shoes, and I bought some like really nice wool sweaters over the winter time on there. They're really nice and thick, heavy wool that are made in Ireland or in Scandinavian countries that tend to go for a slightly higher price point if you have to buy them new. But I try to like search for something that is within my budget, within my price point, and then I just wait. And then I like it if it pops up. And then I sometimes wait even longer. And then when the budget comes around that I have budget to purchase that item, that's when I buy the item. So I always have a couple of things floating around my favorites. Sometimes it's not even attainable for me. Like right now, there's a suede jacket by Levi's in there, and it's this one. And it's really pretty, but it's also 100 euros. And then I'm like, do I want to buy a secondhand Levi's suede jacket for 100 euros from Vinted? That is not in like the best condition. You know what I mean? It looks secondhand, like it needs a very good clean, and suede can be difficult to clean. But then, for instance, what I find a pretty good deal is, for instance, this pair of boots that I have favorited. It's a pair of cowboy boots, all leather, a really nice brand, and they retail for around 60 euros. Then I'm like, oh, like if you buy full-on leather cowboy boots in store by this brand, they're going to be like 150, maybe 250 euros. Don't need it for that price point. So that's sort of how I try to look for things. Like, and I do different searches from time to time. And sometimes I like lose interest in the items that are listed, and then I just like delete them again. And then I add other searches and I think of something else. So I definitely use the search function a lot. I use the filters a lot. Like I sometimes just look for brands that I'm interested in. Like I like Monkey, I like Cezanne, I like Dr. Martens. Like those are some of my favorite brands already. But I also have a lot of items by those brands in my wardrobe already. So I like to look for those from time to time just to see what's floating around Vinted, to see if there's anything I'm interested in. But I very often will like look for very particular things. So if it's like sweater vests or like a messenger bag style, like little like cross body thing that I was looking for in a brown, because I ruined my faux leather one that I've had for years from Mango last summer. So I was like, you know what? Before I go on vacation this year, I need a new crossbody brown messenger style bag that is similar to the one I have by Mango, but that's not exactly the same. And of course, I find like 3 things I like. So you'll see that in a haul, because that's the danger I find of Vinted. Like sometimes things are so affordable that I'm like, you know what? I might as well just buy a couple of renditions. So I didn't get just one red sweater vest. I got 3, but they're all different. That's what she said. So I got a plain red one with a high neck. This is red and white and more obviously knitted. And then I have one that is like a cable knit with a V-neck. Like they're all different, but I love red. So red in my wardrobe. And this one I really liked. It was 5 euros. It did have to come from Spain, so I think I did pay for like more in shipping and handling fees than I did for the item itself, but that's sometimes the issue with Vinted if you find things that are super duper cheap, because the commission that Vinted takes out that you have to pay for as a buyer comes on top of the cost of the item that goes to the seller, and then you also have to pay for the shipping, which is a bit dodgy sometimes, but yeah. That's how I've been liking Vinted, and I think if you use it well, if you're able to really nicely put in your search terms, that way you're going to be able to find really good items. So here is that burgundy blouse that I bought from Marks and Spencer's. Like, it's so pretty. I will not show this lady's images too many times. But here is what that print looks like. That's what made me fall in love. It's like so pretty. And it's like this very nice velvety sort of texture. Really, really love that. I've also been able to find a lot of things that are like real suede and real leather on there. And then it's like so much cheaper than if you were to buy an item like that in store. So there are just so many good things about it. And I've been coloring a lot. I've been making some content about that on my channel as well. And I use a lot of the Deco Time markers that Action does, which I love, but I could also sense there were a lot of like shades that were missing from my collection. So what did I do? I went onto Vinted and I got collections off of other people for cheaper than if I were to go to Action and like risk getting all of these doubles. And then when I had a lot of them and I had a lot of doubles that I was like, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with these, I just sold them on to someone else. And like within 2 hours, I was able to sell this huge box of markers that I didn't know what to do with. And I still have plenty of doubles to, when things run out, I have plenty of markers to still play with. But yeah, thanks to Vinted, I've been able to really nicely, just get more of those markers as well. So it's not just for clothing. It's also really good for crafts. A lot of people buy secondhand books off of Vinted. I know there's a whole makeup community on there as well. So I've been considering selling some of my used makeup on there as well for like more expensive items that are still good to go that I don't know what to do with. I could pop those on Vinted as well. So I've definitely been buying more than I have been selling. Like I have a little pile of products sitting in the corner of my room that I need to take pictures of to sell. But I also feel they're all very wintry-esque. So I'm not sure if it would sell well if I were to try to sell them right now. So when it comes to Vinted, I just use the filters. I always select my sizes. I always select a brand. And I always select material. I always select a color. And I select sort by newest first. Those are my filters for every single search I do on there. And then I save the search like I showed you. And then I just go back to it from time to time to see, okay, is there anything else that's good? And then when I find a couple of things I like, I save them first to give myself a little bit of time to think. Because things can move fast on Vinted. I find also that Friday night is like the time when people post everything on Vinted. That's when all the good stuff comes up. So around like dinner time between like 6 and 8 on Friday evening Dutch Standard Time, so that's Central European time, that's when you get all the good stuff. And they have so many good things on there. I do find that sometimes people are outrageous when it comes to how they list and how much they ask for it. But those are just the items I then don't reach, like that. I don't engage with those things. I don't look for those things. I try not to even think of those things, you could say. So I never save those or whatever. If I don't like the price point, like I'm not going to haggle. I'm not going to like ask for a million other images for like an item that's €5. If there are bad images taken in bad lighting, which is especially the case for a lot of items in wintertime, like some people just really don't know how to take a picture. So that's what I judge the listing by a lot of times. And I will just, with Vinted, and I feel that way as well about like vintage shopping. Like I've been doing that live as well. It's about going into it for the long haul. It's not about like, you think about like, I want a black silk blouse today and you're going to find it today. It's not like that. It's a very different perspective on shopping. Like with that burgundy blouse I told you about, like that was a search term I put in a year ago. If you hold out, you can find the thing that works for you best. And sometimes you need to put that search back in a couple of times or reactivate the algorithm. But I do find that the Vinted algorithm works really well if you feed it correctly. So you do need to sort of kindle the fire, you could say. And give it the search terms you're looking for. And then I always find that if I don't find it in the initial search, the next time I open my app, I go into that recommended tab and I find all the good things that I'm interested in. I start out by liking them, and then if I don't make those purchases, I feel that Vinted again pushes similar style products, and that way I'm really able to find the good deals. And so you do need to go through several cycles, and it is helpful to scroll like once a day on there if you're looking for something very particular and you want to have a look for different things. That's just the way I feel. So yeah, that's everything I wanted to share with you when it comes to how I like to shop on Vinted. There's loads of good things on here again. But yeah, I do really enjoy browsing on there. I don't like everything that's on there, and sometimes, especially with those markers, people ask ridiculous prices. Like, I know what those things cost at Action if I try to buy them myself, and so many people are trying to ask for so much money for products that have been discontinued like a couple of times over already. So then I'm like, you know what? I don't necessarily need that in my life. But that's something that I definitely look for. So yeah, there's loads of different things that you can get through Vinted, not just clothing. But if I do want to shop for clothing, I use the filters and just go into the app several times and try to feed the algorithm what it is I'm looking for. What I do find it's not very good at is once you've purchased that item, it still pushes that item for you until you start putting in new search terms. So that is something there. Like right now, I don't have that many things on my wish list, and I haven't been very active in the app, so I feel I still get all of these bags that I'm like, I don't need these because, you know, there's a whole thing there. But yeah, that's sort of how I do it. That's how I use Vinted. Let me know your Vinted tips in a description, in the comments down below. I would love to know if you use Vinted, how you use Vinted, whatever. Oh, and the way to prevent being scammed by someone trying to sell you Shein, like it happened to me once. Put your images that you find on Vinted through reverse image search, and that way you can usually figure out whether something is or not actually vintage or whatever. I only made that mistake once, though. I haven't been scammed ever since, so that's a good thing. So yeah, thank you so very much for joining me here today. I make videos on this channel once a week. Let me know if you're looking forward to that fashion haul, because then I could do that next week. It's an idea. That's an idea. But I could also do a wrap-up of some kind of books I've read. So I'm still undecided, but I definitely want to show you a haul as well. Oh, and I want to show you some outfits again in June too. So lots of content coming your way. So like, stay tuned for all of that goodness, and I hope to see you again very, very soon in a new video. Bye-bye.